Joe Schmoe here, coming to you with an afternoon update, lunch break, case update, trial update for Samuel Bateman at the Coconino Superior Court, 200 San Francisco, is it Street or Avenue in Flagstaff? I don't know, but I'm here covering the case again today. Today is the actual start of the trial. As you can see, it's a little bit more cloudy of a day today. The sun is not shining as much. We have some clouds to the east and to the west, and the north and the south, but the sun is actually kind of shining right here. I'll wait for a few people to trickle in before I start actually talking about it, but this is going to be a short break, not a real long one. We just wrapped up opening arguments. The state went with their opening first, and then obviously the defendant got his in. Hold on 1 second here. Okay, so this is the state of Arizona versus Samuel Bateman, who is on trial in his second trial. Actually, there wasn't a trial number one because he pled guilty to the federal charges, the federal trafficking charges back in 2024. Pled guilty in April of 2024 and was sentenced in December of 2024 to 50 years for the actual trafficking charges. And these are for the state charges for child abuse. The judge went over the specific instructions for the qualifications for what child abuse means in the state of Arizona, and there are 3 required elements for that. So anyway, we started the day a little bit after 9 o'clock with wrapping up jury selection. So what we had yesterday was we had 10 prospective jurors in the jury box because that's what they go with here in Coconino County. So there's a jury of 8 plus 2 alternates, and they had their 10 pretty much selected yesterday, but there was still some more voir dire that they had to go. Hey there, love of heart, good to see you in here. Thanks for joining today. I have some people coming by on the walk, so I'm going to pause for just a second. Hi there. Hi. So voir dire wrapped up this morning. Instead of bringing all 80 or 90 prospective jurors into the courtroom this time, they just brought those 2 in that they wanted to talk to. And those 2 prospective jurors were out of the 10 that they had specific questions about answers on their jury questionnaire. So the first one they brought in was a former Catholic priest here in Flagstaff, and he had put something in his jury questionnaire responses like he knew somebody that had dealt with a legal issue regarding sexual abuse. And it happened to be another Catholic priest, apparently, that actually did prison time for his crime, and then went to stay with this Catholic priest afterwards. And this jury member said it's because he had no dignity, and I thought staying with me would give him some dignity. So that was the story. That was on a public Zoom channel, so I'm not disclosing any doxing information for any potential juror members that wasn't out there on the public Zoom link to watch this publicly. And then the second one was somebody who is either current or former Department of Public Works employee, and Mr. Bateman just wanted to know if he had any dealings with local law enforcement. And this guy wasn't with local law enforcement, Department of Public Safety, I think it was. And there are law enforcement officers that work for the Department of Public Safety, but this guy was not law enforcement. So all 10 of them were deemed satisfactory, and so they called in the 80 others, or the 70 others, and they dismissed them all except for these 10, and the 10 were swore in. And we proceeded to opening statements. We took a brief little break a little bit after 10 o'clock or a little bit before 10 o'clock in the morning, and came back. Before opening statements was jury instructions. And We all know how fun those are. Um, the part that was interesting to me and went a little bit fast for me to follow exactly, but were the three qualifications for that the state has to prove that Mr. Bateman participated in to be guilty of child abuse. One of them was the use of a dangerous instrument, and so the state is alleging that he used the GMC Denali and the cargo trailer both as dangerous instruments in transporting these three girls. Um, and he apparently has transported them with trailers multiple times. So that we saw that in the state's opening statement. The dangerous weapon is the GMC Denali cargo trailer. There were two other elements of that. I don't think intent was one of those elements. And definitely don't think intent to break the law or knowledge of breaking the law has to be proven by the state. But when Mr. Bateman gave his opening arguments, he talked about his intent. So we'll get into that in a second because I kind of want to go chronologically because that's how my brain works. So jury instructions, most of the same boring stuff that we all hear in opening and closing jury instructions. And then the admonishment he read again. He read it to the entire jury pool yesterday before he dismissed them. Read it again today. Don't research the case. Don't talk about the case. And he specifically mentioned AI now as a means for researching the case that they are prohibited from. So AI is now in our court records or in our jury instructions for modern courts. So after jury instructions, opening arguments were really pretty short. I think they started about 11:20 this morning, and we were done by about a quarter till noon, maybe 10 till noon. And I was back here at the car at noon to begin this live. So opening statements. Um, I'm gonna say that the DA presenting the case or the state's representative, I'm pretty sure he's the DA, um, isn't exactly smooth spoken and natural speaking like Trina K was and a couple of other DAs I've seen. Um, but I think he made some good points for the jury to consider. And he started with the emotional impact of seeing that trailer that the girls were transported in and showing video from that day, August 28th, 2022, when now I'm still confused a little bit about the events of how Samuel Bateman got pulled over. Um, because he says he didn't get pulled over. He says he voluntarily pulled over the Denali and trailer because the girls had called him from the back of the trailer and saying that they were having to hold the door shut. And so he was pulling over, he claims, to secure the door. Um, but the state said and showed pictures of the inside of the trailer. There were no secure seats inside the trailer. There was a loose couch. There was a makeshift bathroom with a purple curtain around it. And there were two water jugs on the side, like you see in human trafficking trailers, where they give them a jug of water in the back of a trailer. That's how they treated these girls. Um, and they showed video from, I think it was 2 weeks before the incident. So it was around August the 14th of them getting pulled over on a smaller highway in a more rural area. But he's hauling an SUV behind a truck. I'm not sure if it was the Denali or a separate truck, more like a farm truck. I couldn't see because the police vehicle, and we saw a dash cam from the police vehicle, showed girls jumping out of this flatbed trailer that was hauling the ATV, hauling the ATV behind the truck, um, wearing their prairie dresses like we saw in the cargo trailer. And I think he just got a warning for that. I don't know if he got a citation, but he just got a warning from law enforcement for that. But once again, 2 weeks later, was hauling them on a highway 3.5 hours from point A to point B, from southern Arizona or mid Arizona up to Flagstaff in the back of a cargo trailer, unsecured, with a door that flew open. So the state, basically, that was the most impactful part of the state's opening. Um, and it was quiet in the courtroom, especially during that second video where we saw the girls on the flatbed trailer 2 weeks earlier. Um, there was not a sound in the courtroom. And Mr. Bateman was watching the videos pretty intently during that during the second video. He did put his head down and was writing notes, but he was pretty emotionless while he was watching. There was nothing on his face that I could detect. I was sitting directly behind him. I could see the side of his face, couldn't see him full on because obviously normally his back is turned to me, but he was turned to the side to watch the video. Um, I was even typing on my laptop, typing notes and updating on X. By the way, you can see minute by minute updates on X, JS_media88 on X. I stopped typing for a minute till we got past that video, and then the state continued on with their opening arguments. And basically, they just said, just follow the facts in the case. And what's funny is when Mr. Bateman got up there, he tried to make a couple of half-assed lame arguments. The main one was, I'm a kind and gentle person and I would never hurt anybody intentionally. You can ask anybody. I'm a kind and gentle person. I was really surprised that the state did not object to that, because we saw back in Laurie Daybell's trial, Trina K objected to that all the time. And she said, you're opening the door for us to have a discussion about whether or not you're a kind and gentle person or a kind and caring person. I mean, I would have been objecting to that like you would not believe, because now we can talk about the other charges that you pled guilty to. We can open the door to talk about how kind and caring and gentle you are and how you never hurt anybody. Oh wait, yeah, you've been convicted of multiple sex trafficking crimes and you're serving 50 years in the Arizona Department of Corrections. Can we talk about that now because you opened the door? State didn't object. They let him keep going. And he tried a couple of like circumstantial arguments about that day and the events in the trailer. He tried to say that, oh, the girls had cell phones back there, and apparently they did because they were calling him. And one of his lamest last arguments was, oh, they had cell phones back there, and if they were really in any danger, they could have called 911, which we all know what a bullshit argument that is. Um, this guy's sick. He was not a good attorney for himself. I don't think he was impactful on the jury. Um, and he said, "Don't listen to emotions, or don't go with your emotions. Go with the facts of the case." He did say it was a dumb thing to do, and I admit it. So if that's the case, I don't even know why we're going to trial, because he admitted it. The only thing is if he can prove that the state didn't prove one of the three elements of child abuse beyond a reasonable doubt. From what I saw today, I don't think that's happening. I don't think he's going to be able to prove that they didn't prove it. Um, and you don't have to be a good public speaker vis-a-vis the DA to be able to prove the elements and facts of the case, especially when the defendant goes up in front of the jury and says, I admit it, it was dumb to do and I did it. He should have pled out, would have saved a lot of people a lot of heartache. There was an entire row of what looks like relatives, families of the victims, maybe, or friends that were seated in the front row of the gallery. There were about 6 or 7 of them today, in the prairie dresses and sitting together in other, FLDS type of garb. So they were represented today. And I know one of the family members of the victims is here also watching the trial in person. Um, I was introduced to her yesterday. Um, but anyway, that's about it. Not a whole lot going on. So opening arguments are done. They were done just before noon today. And we'll proceed with presentation of the witnesses after lunch. We'll be done with lunch in about 45 minutes or so, and we'll resume at 1:15 p.m. local time. Like I said, watch X and subscribe to this channel for notifications. I can't promise you that I will be here the rest of the week to cover this in-person boots on the ground. I have some prior obligations um, that I may need to not be here for a couple of days of court. But there are other people covering it. Mike Watkus is here covering it. Um, and I have the Zoom link, so can watch on Zoom. There is a court feed for this. It cannot be broadcast live, but there will be a court feed available to members of the media after this too. So maybe we'll go on and watch it when it's not live. But there will definitely be parts of it that I want to see, particularly when this defendant attempts to represent himself. So everybody have a good day and take care and stay tuned for updates from the state of Arizona versus Samuel Bateman in the Coconino our Superior Court in Flagstaff, Arizona. Thanks for watching and thanks for tuning in. We'll talk later. And